Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel again. And still, this time we are going to talk about creative writing, but it will be exactly about the creative writing products. Okay, we know that some kind of creative writing products such as novel, poem, poetry and mini saga are well known by the people as the creative writing products, but in this video especially we are going to discuss about the unfamiliar creative writing products, and this is very interesting because we didn't know before that this writing are including as creative writing, so it engages us to search more and research further related to this writing. The first is flash fiction. Let me read you some information about it. Okay, flash fiction, also called as microfiction, sudden fiction, or short stories, refer to fiction stories of around 700 words or less. Flash fiction is not a summary of a longer story or a hasty reflection of a protagonist's life, and flash fiction also has the structure that follows the elements of plot, including the beginning, middle and end, as well as the conflict and satisfying resolution, setting and characters. And here is the example of flash fiction. Okay, the next is plays. Plays is a literary form of writing for theater which narrates a story with elements of conflicts, tensions, and action through dialogues of characters. Okay, plays also has elements such as plot, characters, dialogue, setting, conflict, and resolution. There are three types of plays. The first is tragedy. Tragedy is a play that ends on a tragic note and most likely a character's death. Second is comedy. Comedy is a play that means to amuse the audience and they end on a happy note. And the last one is tragic comedy. It is a fictional work comprises of both tragedy as well as comedy. And here is the example of plays. Okay, the first is Oedipus Rex by Sophocles, and then the next is this one, The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. Okay, the next is Memoir. Memoir is non-fiction narrative writing in the author's personal memories. Memoir is different from biography or autobiography. Biography or autobiography tells the story of a life, while memoir often tells the story of a particular event or time. And memoir also has its structure, such as hook, thesis statement, body, and conclusion. These elements are needed in writing our memoir because it can avoid the reader from getting bored. And this is the example of a memoir by Nicholas Klaczynski. Okay, we can see that in the first sentence, in the first paragraph, starting from I was born on December 12, 1984 in Seattle's Children's Hospital as twin boy weighing about 3 pounds is the hook from Nicholas, and the bold sentences in the end of the first paragraph, starting well until the words of my birth as well, is his thesis statement. And the next paragraph 2 until paragraph 4 is the body of his memoir, and the last paragraph is his review about his memoir, or we can say that it is conclusion of his memoir. He is reviewing all his memoir again. Okay, the next will be explained by my friend.
Genre writing. What is genre writing? Genre is the organization of literature into categories based on the types of writing the piece exemplifies through its content, form, or style. And genres are ways of writing and speaking that help people interact, communicate, and work together. How use genres to write successfully? The first, for writers, genre offer flexible patterns that reflects how people to communicate and interact with others. The last, for readers, genre are guideposts for orienting themselves to text. Here are the most important things to remember about genres. Genres are flexible, genres are adaptable to various situations. The last, genre in movies. Example of genres in movies. Blog. A blog, a shortened version of weblog, is an online journal or informational website displaying information in reverse chronological order, with the last post appearing first at the top. It is a platform where a writer or a group of writers share their views on an individual subject. What is the purpose? The main purpose of a blog is to connect you to the relevant audience. There are some purposes about it. As a new business, you rely on blogging to help you get to potential consumers and grab their attention. And a blog also allows you to showcase your unique authority and build a brand. How about the structure? Here are common features that typical blog will include. 1. Header with the menu or navigation bar. 2. Main content area with highlighting. 3. Sidebar with social profile, favorite, and content. The last, footer with relevant links like a disclaimer, privacy, and so on. Example: literary journalism. Literary journalism is another essay form that is best reserved for intermediate and advanced level courses. Literary journalism also is the creative non-fiction form that comes closer to newspaper and magazine writing. There are a few techniques about it. The first, be there, in order for journalist writers to build stories about real world, even in as much detail. They rely on having to do a lot of research, interviews, and field observation. Second, recording your dialogue. 3. Edit dialogue in the spirit of the subject. The last, ask questions. Don't assume that you know anything. Example:
a column writing is a regular piece or an article in a newspaper, magazine, or any publications. Sometimes it's published daily or it appears in daily, weekly. This piece of writing contains the writer's opinion or point of view. A spot is allocated to the writers in the editorial page, and often it is also named opinion, where his or her write-up containing his or her opinions or views on a particular topic or subject appears. The person who writes the column writing is called columnist. The column endows the writers with an opportunity to give his or her opinion freely and creatively. That's why it's called as creative writing. A column writing is also a voice or a point of view of a columnist, not the newspaper, and it's generally written using first person singular or third person singular. It speaks about the hot issue in society or politics, or even displays the experience of the writers about the specific subject. The reader is free to agree or disagree with the opinions of the columnists. They are normally highly paid because of their creative, rich experience, knowledge, and the vast information they are located with all the time in their writing.
Here are the examples of column writing. The writers or columnists have an opportunity to give his or her opinion freely and creatively.
Twitter stories. Twitter stories are curated stories about what's happening around the world, powered by tweets. It's easy to create your own story creatively with Twitter moments or Twitter stories. There are 3 ways to begin creating your own story creatively through twitter.com. You can access moments or stories through the Moments tab, your cover image, your profile page, and through a tweet detail. To get started, all you need is a title, description, your creative story, and a selected cover image. A new phenomenon that is currently taking over the site is a type of flash called Twiterature, where the writers tell a full story or write a poem in 140 characters or less. In Twitter stories, the writer writes a form of writing where creativity is at the forefront of its purpose, through using imagination, creativity, and innovation in order to tell a story through strong written visuals with an emotional impact. But the media that they use to share the stories is Twitter.
So, these are the examples of Twitter stories. The media that they use to tell the story is Twitter. That's why it's called as Twiterature.
Collaborative writing or collaboration writing. This is typically a writing exercise that writers do with other writers to expand on their creativity. Essentially, the way the exercise works is that one writer will start a story and other will finish it. You might be especially familiar with this kind of work if you have ever read the work of an author was completely after their death. However, collaboration is just another way you can bounce ideas of other person. You can also collaborate with other writers for world building, characters development, and even general brainstorming.
Here are the examples of collaborative writing. So this one is students sharing the lecturer's materials.
Comic strip. Each comic strip has various stories. It may tell about horror, humor, action, mystery, thriller, and adventure. It is also influence the reader's emotion and feeling while convincing the story in a picture. If you have a knack for writing and reading and drawing, of course, then you might be especially interested in working on a comic strip. comic strips are harder project to tackle because they require a lot of preparation, planning before you start writing. Before you begin drafting, you need to know the plot and have a strong outline for how the graphics will look.
These are the examples of comic strips. These comic strips influence the reader's emotion and feeling while convincing the story. These products give the reader interesting story with the graphics or picture. Not only the picture is creative, but the story too.